Welcome to the Orange Hammer Podcast. My name is Corbett Storick. I've been a licensed general contractor for 8+ years, specializing in new construction, renovation, furniture building. I'm the son of an architect and an interior designer, and I've been surrounded in this industry since birth, watching all aspects from concept, design, build, punch list, and of course, all the problems that come up in between. In my time in Durham, North Carolina, I've noticed a significant gap in knowledge between homeowners who need work and the people who do the work. On this podcast, I hope to break down the process of homeownership from the perspective of both the homeowner and the contractor in an effort to help raise the knowledge of homeowners about their homes and the construction/renovation process. I hope you enjoy. If you're enjoying the Orange Hammer Podcast, or if you have a topic that you want covered, or have recently done a project, please contact the Orange Hammer Podcast. The Orange Hammer Podcast is on Instagram and Facebook. Please like and subscribe, share on whatever platform you're enjoying your podcast on. Also, check out our YouTube channel, The Orange Hammer. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by CRS Contracting LLC for all your construction and handyman needs, new buildings to renovations, furniture building, EV charger install, or even a TV mounted. You can call me, Corbett Storick. It'd be my pleasure to help you. You can find me on Instagram at CRS Contracting. WSDG, the Walter Storick Design Group, specialists in architectural and acoustical consulting. Check out WSDG.com. And Taylor Bragg, for all your artistic needs in all mediums. You can find her on Instagram at brag_about_art. That's brag, BRGG, with 2 G's. She's the fantastic artist behind the Orange Hammer logo, and she did my fantastic table painting of my podcasting table. All right, we are doing a Zoom podcast here. We love it. We get a little video. Nikki joining me. Nick, how are you, bud?
I'm doing well, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I don't like seeing you through the computer. I miss you down the street, but we'll take what we can get, right?
Agreed,
Oh,
man. It's been too long. What's
yeah.
what's it been now? Jesus, it's been over a year, hasn't it?
Well, when did you move?
Uh, we were we got out of the end of July, so yeah, it's been over a year.
It's been almost a year and a half. Yeah.
My God,
It does fly by a little bit for sure. Let me lean back in.
seriously.
Yeah. So let's just dive right in. We were, neighbors with 5 houses in between us. We shared a love of needing the internet and movies, TV shows, and Marvel comics, to say just a few of them. You and your lovely wife bought a new construction home. I believe you were the first ones to buy it, correct?
Yeah, yeah, it was a brand new home. It was
Yeah.
what was her name? Gail Crabtree home, I
Yeah,
believe it was.
Crabtree. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it
Which
was
I
it was beautiful, man.
I
I
actually
loved
see
that
a lot
house.
of Gail's homes, and she does great work.
Yeah,
And what's
yeah,
nice is my immediate next door neighbor, who you also know, Lauren,
right.
Gail Crabtree did her house, and well after the 1-year warranty, she had some leaking issues with an upstairs bathroom that did some ceiling damage to her main room. And Gail came
Oh,
right in and was like, we're doing that gratis. Like, that should not be at a year and a half. Pans should not leak. And she took
that's
full
awesome.
responsibility, which, I can't speak for every GC, but a lot of builders and GCs after that 1-year mark are like, I don't even know you. I don't pick up the
Right,
phone. Have a great
right.
day. Not my
But
problem.
that's awesome that she did that, you
Yeah,
know? I
yeah.
mean, as rare as that is to find,
Yeah.
I'm really glad that she took that on. That's great.
Yeah, yeah. The only negative thing I got to say about Gail is I wanted to buy the land before she started and she wouldn't sell it to me. But that's not even a negative thing. That's just like I
Right.
wanted to build a garage and she got there first, and good for her. Um
Yeah.
so the house was to say that it needed anything is wrong. It needed nothing. Y'all did a couple of things to make it your own, but not a tremendous amount. Mostly, correct me if I'm
We
wrong, you
added the
fenced it.
fence.
Yeah, you fenced it
Yeah.
for the pup
Yeah.
for Boston.
Hmm.
Yeah, how's
And that
Boston
was about
doing?
it. Oh, he's great.
Yeah,
He's great.
I bet
He's
he likes the island life a little better.
so I mean, I mean, So right now, so when we moved to Hawaii, so I mean, well, I mean, before we jump into that, yeah, he's good, he's happy, but we're doing another move,
Oh,
here to Los Angeles,
you're in LA
and
currently as we talk.
yep, yep.
Big director man.
So, oh, hey, I'm working on it. I'm
Dude,
working on. Don't go too far yet.
you are directing the Corbett Stork story when it happens, man.
Hey,
Promise me.
write it down. Come and find me.
I
Um,
done. It's literally in a video podcast form. There's enough life story. You can just hire a whiz kid to dissect it all using AI.
oh, hey, there you go. But yeah,
So
I mean, it was the house itself, on Windburn there when we moved in there, we stepped in and it was like this felt like us, like me
yeah,
and Rissa. We felt we were like, this is us. This feels great. And again, there wasn't much to do. It was turnkey, ready to go. We just moved our things in and we did the fence, and that was
yeah.
really it. And everything held up over the years. No complaints, really.
You were in there about 4 or 5 years, if memory serves.
Actually, probably even longer than that. We moved in 2016, I believe, and then we were there until 2022. So what's that? 4, 5, yeah, so 6 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And then
Jesus.
really the only things you had to do was hire me right before you sold it because you had some very minor front entryway, it's like a pathway made out of pressure treated wood that had like three boards that rotted out. And
Right,
then you just needed like the sheetrock in the master bathroom, some like minor touch up and a coat of paint just to like
right.
freshen her up before you put it on the market. And then you guys took off for the island.
That was it. I mean, it
Yeah.
sold pretty quick too. I
Well,
mean,
you are
we had
in the most perfect market to be someone selling a house and not trying to find a comparable house in the same area.
right.
Yeah,
That was the
that's
big thing.
that's the key is like if you sold that house, yes, for 14 seconds you would have thought you made a lot of money. And then second 15 and 16 you would have been like, "Shit, now we have to find a smaller box for more money because of interest and blah 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 and all
Right.
that jazz."
And
Did
our
you
interest rate when we were there was like, 2.25. But I mean, I
Yeah.
also had the VA loan that kept me at the lower rate. But
Yeah.
man, it was a seller's market. And it's funny the way that we kind of rounded the corner. We when we sold the property, first off, we didn't want to do any kind of like bidding wars or anything
Yeah.
like that. And we wanted to sell to either a young family or a young couple that was planning on having a family, to kind of fit in with the neighborhood. And
It's
but
funny
we
you say that
luckily,
because I'm definitely not. I'm the most abnormal person in this neighborhood in that I'm like 32, kidless. When I bought, I was single. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, it's very much either retirees or families. Like even you and Rissa, like barely, you were a kid short of fitting in for
Right. I
sure.
mean, our
Yeah.
kid was the dog.
Oh, my kid's
That
my
was
dog. He's
there
Willie
you go.
Bear's in here right now. Yeah. Or he's in the living room.
How's
Sometimes
he
he's a
do? Is he
studio
doing all
dog.
right?
He's doing great. He is like 13ish. All his face is white. He is an old man enjoying his lazy luxury life the way it should be. And I saw his hips starting to give a little bit the other day, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And I realized, like, well, he's 13, and he's a lab, so it's
Right.
it's time.
Well, Boston's a lab mix too, and he just turned 10.
Okay,
And I mean, both of his back legs. I mean, I can tell you a
yeah, yeah,
story
yeah.
about his trip to from North Carolina to Hawaii and the
Do you
chaos
have to
that
put him
ensued.
out for that?
No, no, he had to take a connecting flight. He flew from North Carolina to Washington State to Hawaii. Uh,
What's the flight time from Washington State to Hawaii?
for passenger commercial,
Oh, was he on like a cargo plane?
yeah,
Oh, okay. He wasn't in
yeah,
the belly of your plane, like with you.
no,
Ah, okay. I just
no.
assumed that like y'all were on the same because I see that. I hear the Willie Bear. There he is. Um, I see that a lot, like when my family and I go to Mexico, we'll
Hmm.
see big dog crates come out of the like specialty area next to the regular luggage carousel. And we're like,
Right,
oh my God, it would be incredible to have Willie Bear down here for the 10
right,
days I'm there. But then I look into it and it's like, you've got to sedate them. If they wake up, they are in a loud, freezing cold, dark cargo area and they need a day to like get back to normal if they're properly sedated. And it's like all for a week and it's very expensive. And I was like, you know what?
right,
I love him, but this makes more sense for my parents who do 3 months with a pug in a bag that they carry
right,
on the plane. And it's like a $200 piece of paper
right. If they're over
with a
like 10 or
doctor.
15 pounds, they're like, no, no, he
Yeah.
can't be up here. He's got to go down there.
Yeah.
Um, but
It's like, unless it's, service dogs change everything.
right,
But I think you
right.
still have to like buy a second seat
You
or you have
do.
to buy like the whole row possibly. I don't know. I've
I'm not sure about what how many they make you purchase, but it's an ordeal.
It's
It's
definitely
I
an
mean
ordeal for
for
sure.
a bigger dog,
Yeah.
yeah, it's an ordeal.
So did
Um,
you buy on the island or are you renting?
we bought a
Okay.
condo.
You bought a
Um,
condo. Any work to
yeah.
it?
No, it was completely renoed.
Okay, so you
Um,
were like, this is moving ready. We're ready to rock.
turnkey,
Now
ready
you're
to go.
getting and now you're coming back. Now you're going to
That's
LA.
yeah, yep.
Are you
And
buying or renting?
so we're gonna be buying again.
You're gonna be buying again. Okay.
Yeah, well, for several reasons, but I mean the great thing, like I was saying, the kind of corner we turned was when we sold in North Carolina. We sold, at above asking price, no contingencies, full cash, closed in a week, which was great for us because we had to go because Ris's job was starting, and so we had to get there, to the island early so that we could do a house hunt. And we stayed with friends when we got there, and we found this condo. So Honolulu, is on the east side of Oahu, and that's Honolulu. You got Waikiki, you've got Ala Moana, you got all these tourist, places over there. And so it's, it's high density, it's loud, all that stuff. And everybody was saying, oh, you should buy over here. It's convenient, da 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 da. And we were like, well, we're looking more at the other side of the island because we like it quiet. We like it, nice and calm. We don't like high density, amount of people around us.
But also, I got to
So,
clarify for listeners, you are
mhm,
not the standard like white tourist idiot. And I say that to throw that in for a perspective, not to insult anybody. But like you guys are not the standard, oh, it would be fun to go to Hawaii. Like you've been there,
right,
you lived there before North Carolina, you have friends, you have family there. You are very much like respectful of the Hawaiian lifestyle,
right,
not trying to like Oprah Winfrey yourself and buy a million sacred acres. Like you just love the culture. You want to be a part of it and respect it, not change it. And I think that's like when people are like, oh man, sometimes Hawaiians are super nice. Sometimes Hawaiians are super mean. They're super mean to the douchebags. Like if
right,
you're going to be a douche, they're going to be mean to you. You are a threat to their way of life.
right.
They
They live
should be
on
mean
an
to you.
island.
Yeah, they
It's an
should be mean
island,
to you
you
because
know.
you're threatening their way of life.
Right. You either respect the island, and it's not even they don't even give a shit if if you're disrespectful to the Hawaiian people. Most of it's like don't disrespect the island,
Right. That
because that
what's the
is
nerve the term? Is it the Kauai? It's like a term in
oh
Hawaiian for the
oh
way of life that you should be
um
respecting.
I'm brain fogging at the
I heard
moment.
it on like a documentary where
Uh
they were filming something in Hawaii, and I was like,
yeah,
yeah, you got to. Maybe it's
yeah.
Mana. It might be Mana.
Uh it's uh you know what? I've been off the
It's
island
okay.
for four
Don't worry.
months and now I'm like, oh.
It's
But
okay.
anyways, yeah,
It's okay.
but it is this it's sacred, it's their land. And
Yeah.
not to say, bad things about the government or anything, but the United States, we went there, we said, hey, We want to use it for military purposes, your key strategic positions, World War II, yada yada. We'll give it back to you. And then they never gave it back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
And
we
then,
have a history of that in this country.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
unfortunately.
And we
And
could
then,
talk about that on another podcast.
yeah.
So
So
what part of LA are we in?
right now, well, so I'm right now in a part of LA called Winnetka. And I'm just in an
Okay,
Airbnb.
cool.
And I've been here since June.
Okay.
Um, I got here June 3rd, and I'm still in the same Airbnb. And I got here. So I started a film course last November uh, with a company called the Film Connection, an institute called Film Connection. They do what's called an externship, where you pay basically the company to, they give you some book work and some lessons and stuff like that, and some quizzes you got to do and whatnot, but they pair you with a mentor who's already in the film business. And so that's the opportunity for you to learn that hands-on stuff, right? Or at least that was the plan. That's what they have laid out in their curriculum. Um, I can't say that they delivered on the whole thing,
Hmm.
but I've been self-teaching film and everything about making film since I was 13. So I had a lot. It wasn't a lot of new information, but it got me into finding out some things about the film business and how it works, and because it's a business, it's as much as we call it the entertainment industry, it is a business like any other business, with the how much money it takes to make everything, how people have to be paid, what it takes to create it, the locations, the crew, the equipment, the all the processes that go into it, right? So, I got to learn more in depth about that. Um, and I
I
learned,
personally have been fascinated by it since I want to say 10 years old, and I saw clearly a film crew in the airport, like
oh,
just
nice.
traveling. It was like 65 dudes, and every single cart was packed with like Pelican cases of hard shell camera gear, and you could see like you could see a tripod folded up and a boomstick collapsed, and I was like,
Right,
oh wow, it takes a literal army, and they're probably not the ones who've been there for 6 weeks doing the set already. Like that's the
right.
ones that were going in there to actually get the shots. And who knows, that could be like the B roll with no famous actor. That's just the shot of the car making a left, and then they're gonna
The
fly
second
in
unit crew
Matthew.
or
Yeah,
something.
then they're gonna
Yeah.
fly in Matthew McConaughey for one face shot behind the wheel, or they do that in L.A. I mean, or they do that in Wisconsin or Seattle soundstage. Like it truly
Right.
is. And I'm speaking unexperienced to somebody who's experienced comparatively between the two of us, but the fascination level is probably equal on both levels. Like it's
Yeah.
so cool. And for me, I get fascinated with like seeing a shot that's like clearly in a Lowe's, but
Right.
all the
Right.
Lowe's stuff is covered with a fake Home Mart name, you know? And I'm like, did they build a Lowe's in a soundstage, or did they take that over for 17 nights in a row from closing all night to opening? What does that cost? Did they pay the owner? Do they have a contract with Lowe's? Did they just walk in one day and go, do you want to make 25 grand? Like that kind of part is just fascinating to me.
You know what it is? I mean, it depends on the budget, right?
Oh,
It
of
it just
course.
depends upon the
Yeah.
budget, and every film gets its own, specific budget. But it's real. Honestly, it starts with just a phone call. It's just like, hey, we got a film we're shooting. Would you mind if we used your location? Here's what we need it for. Are you amenable? And they're like,
Yeah.
sure,
And you see like
sure.
at least for a real-time example, you see like a Facebook clip of like the guys from Always Sunny in Philadelphia talking,
Oh
and they're
God, I love
like,
them.
me
Yeah,
too, yeah. And they're like, oh my god, yeah, I remember season 3, we didn't have real money, so we're closing down a location in the day, and we only have time for one take, and like we better get that take because we cannot keep that coffee shop closed any longer. By
right.
season 11, they could keep it closed or they built a fake one in a
Yeah.
studio. It's like,
I'll tell you, I
yeah.
didn't realize what went into on the production side, setting up just a single shot, right? To
Oh
set
yeah.
it up, to, get in there, lay down the dolly track, and then to position the dolly on the track, make sure that the wheels aren't squeaking on the track, setting up the camera build and then getting that set up on the dolly and then getting, the actor and your frame set up and making sure that's all correct and making sure you've rehearsed with your actor and then, doing a rehearsal take and making sure that you get what you want and then doing take and then take one starts. Right.
And are you a fan of the John Wick movies?
Oh yeah, love them.
The
Love them.
director Chad Stiplatsky, I fucked up his last name. Apologies, Chad. I'm a big fan, but
Huge.
he talks about how all their muzzle flash and blood is post,
Hmm.
and then he compares it to Quentin Tarantino, who it's all blood packs.
Practical. Yeah.
And he's like, do you have any idea what it takes to do a second take on a Tarantino set? You need a second and third of every wardrobe.
Oh
You
my
got to clean
God.
it up. All the blood packs have to be redone. Like, it's so much. Whereas, like, John Wick, there's no blood. So, oh,
Right.
screwed that up. Run it back. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. We're doing all the blood post. So we don't need new shirts. We don't need
Right.
blood packs. There's a whole set of you would probably know better than I would, but there's probably a whole group of people who are in charge of the blood packs that are now not on
Oh
salary, who are
yeah.
now not on the set, and the budget just gets lower and lower and lower. But yet again, who would ever go tell Tarantino he's doing it wrong? Because he's not doing it wrong. He's doing it
Right.
perfect. He's doing
It's
it
when you
perfect.
there is this separation when you reach that level of notoriety,
Yeah.
that it's just like, do whatever you want, man. You're
Yeah.
good,
Yep. 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 And we want
and
him to
then,
keep pushing the we
oh
want him
yeah,
to do what he wants because I mean, who
absolutely.
doesn't? If you don't like Tarantino movies, there's a legit reason that's incorrect.
Well, but no, but I mean, like, it's, the budget for films is so massive that one of the big things I learned is that a 2 million, 3 million, $5 million film is considered a shoestring budget.
Yeah, that's insane to me. I mean, what was
It's
it? Black
zero.
Adam, they spent
Like,
190 million making it, then they spent 250 million promoting it. It made
right.
like 350 million and was considered a flop. And I was like, the movie made $350 million. That's a GDP of a small country. What are you
Right.
talking about? It can't be a flop, but it is
It's
absolutely a flop.
insane.
And like
And
Dwayne's
when
brand
you're
is taking a
filming,
hit.
yeah, right. And it's like, and one of the other things that I really learned too is when you are filming is what you have to be careful about is you get there and you're like, oh, we could do this and we could do this. Oh, but we could also do it. But it's and you lose sight of, or
The
let me rephrase,
budget.
you have the possibility of losing sight of that budget and inflating it, incredibly. And that happens on so many films. It's just incredible to see. But I think of it too, even though I'm not in charge of the budget, I have to keep it in mind.
Oh yeah.
And, just from doing my own finances, most of my life, it's, Riss and I, we live within a budget, and you don't live beyond your means.
Yeah.
So same kind of just translation there. It's like, okay, this is what we have. This is what's possible. So I'm going to go and I'm going to ask my producer first. I'm going to say, hey, look, here's what I would like to do. What are the possibilities we can do that? Should we think about doing that?
Have you heard that clip from Matt Damon talking about Jack Nicholson on the set of The Departed?
No.
It's Matt Damon doing an impression of Jack Nicholson while telling an actual story. So it's a cool story about The
Okay.
Departed. And he's saying how, like, there's a scene where Jack Nicholson has this, wife and husband on their knees. You've seen it. And he executes the husband first, and then he executes the wife. And then he says, huh, she fell funny.
Right.
You remember the scene, right?
Yep.
The she fell funny, not in the script. Like
But they keep it.
it's just supposed to be bang bang.
Right.
But then Matt Damon is like, so Jack Nicholson says, I'm from the school of Robert, blah, 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 blah. And I got a way to add to your movie, but not add to your budget. And this is Matt Damon doing his Jack Nicholson voice, and I'm butchering them both. And
I love it.
he's like, the scene says shooter, shooter. Okay. But if you keep the camera rolling, I'll say, she fell funny. Now, to keep the camera rolling for 2 minutes, as you know, at this day and age, it doesn't cost any more money because there's
Right.
no real film anymore.
Precisely.
So, and they had to set up everything for the original shot. So it is actually not costing any more money. And he goes, and then if you keep the camera rolling, and he just keeps doing this, he keeps saying, but if you keep the camera rolling, I'll do this. And then if you keep the camera rolling, I'll do this. And then next thing you
And that's
know,
something that you got to do because that's where
yeah.
you'll capture some of your best stuff.
And literally all of that, if you keep the camera rolling, made it into the final movie. And I mean, it totally helps bring
Yeah.
Frank Costello's character, played by Jack Nicholson in the movie The Departed, to a whole new level of psychopath that you realize he shoots enough people in the back of the head that they fall a certain way. And he noticed that this particular one fell funny. I mean, when you break it down, it's so needed and perfect. And if memory serves,
Right.
that's a Marty Scorsese movie.
Yeah.
Who, right up there with Tarantino is
Oh man.
arguably the greatest directors to ever direct.
I
Um,
mean, just growing up with those films, you know.
I didn't even appreciate how amazing they were as a kid. I definitely watched Goodfellas and Casino too young, and they're
Same.
favorite movies of mine as an adult. But I didn't really realize that I was watching like literal greatness, both from in front of the camera and behind the camera. It takes you a while to go from I like seeing movies to I appreciate the intricacies behind them. As a kid, I didn't watch the
Right.
credits. I didn't give a crap. I don't care about them.
Right.
Now
Nobody
as
wants
an
to watch the credits at that
right.
age.
Now as an
Yeah.
adult, I still don't watch the credits, but I look it up afterwards because I'm interested and I'm like, oh,
Right.
that was shot. That did look familiar. Yeah,
It's
I
funny.
know that location.
Like I was the same way actually, and then Rissa, when I started dating her, I thought it was weird at first, but I've grown to appreciate it and enjoy it actually. She stays through the end of the credits for every movie that we watch at home, in the theater, whatever. Not just to see if there's like some kind of end scene, cut scene at the end, right?
Yeah,
But
not a
she
Marvel movie.
enjoys, right, right. But she likes to see how many people are involved
Yeah.
in creating something like
There's like
this.
5,000 people to make a movie where there's two actors.
Right.
It's
And
crazy.
if you look at, a movie from the 80s and you look at a movie from yesterday, you know, the list is six times as long,
Yeah, yeah,
10
yeah.
times as long. It's like,
Yeah.
holy crap.
I'm remembering now that my parents were like that. My brother and I would F off back to the movie theater lobby and play like Time Crisis 3,
Oh
and
God,
they
yeah.
were in there for 10 to 15 minutes watching the credits roll because my dad's an acoustical person and he wanted to know who did the sound. He actually
Right.
cared. He was like, "Oh yeah, I know that guy." Like that's
Right.
he knew him professionally, possibly in a friend world, and he'd walk out of that movie and be like, "Oh, blah blah did the sound," and I'm like, "I don't know who that is, but I'm glad your friend did it." Yeah.
Right.
So I know the Orange Hammer podcast is about construction and home ownership. We talked a little bit about your home ownership, the life of North Carolina to the island to LA. I don't even know if it's bother comparing because that's three alien cultures that don't even talk to each other.
Well,
So
I mean, me and Riss, we move around a lot, right? I grew up in Boston. She grew up here in Cupertino, actually, in California, and then to North Carolina, where she, did a lot of her growing up in Chapel Hill, in Carborough. And, I was Air Force, so I was all over the place, and then eventually settled in North Carolina and met Rissa, and then we moved from North Carolina to South Carolina to Georgia, back to then to Maui, back to North Carolina, back to Hawaii, and now we're doing LA. So we've moved around a lot.
I mean, you guys are experts at it by now, for sure. Yeah.
It's funny because people are like, oh, you're going to need time to do X, Y, and Z versus like, give me 24 hours. I got
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. I'm
It's
good.
like a science. So,
So let's because the work in the island is non-existent and you haven't got the place in LA yet, I want to dive right into. I mean, you are, lo and behold, the only friend I know who now is completed. Forget about working on. You have completed a script for an actual feature film, not some
well, short
TV show.
feature.
Hey, short, long, it's a film. It is not an episode of CSI where we just go fade in on Ted Danson's office, you
Well,
know?
yeah, I mean,
And
that's
you sent it to me. It's the first and only script I've ever read, but it totally vibed with like my um style of liking a film, kind of dream sequency, flashbacky, depending on how you want to look at it. And I got a little vibe of like, some autobiographicals going in there potentially, as
my wife.
whatever.
She keeps on telling me I got to stop writing out, semi-autobiographical films. I'm like,
Why?
well, I mean, there's always a little bit of you because you write what you know, right?
Yeah, you got to write what you
Um,
know. I mean, my biggest fan, my biggest like medium that I'm a fan of is stand-up comedy, and they
yeah,
literally only write what they know.
and
There's no in
comedy is
between.
one of the most difficult things to write.
It's probably why I'm
One
such a big fan, is I appreciate the difficulty of like they have to go into a club with 12 people to really find out if it hits, and then work up to a theater. And it took 2 years to get that hour that I watch on
Yeah,
Netflix, and the hour's
yeah,
perfect, but nobody sees the 2 years of tightening it up and cutting
right.
the junk and having to
Seeing
bomb
what
in front of
works and what
7 people.
doesn't. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
in a
like,
nightclub
and
at 2 a.m.
just doing that, like, oh my God, you've got to have the heart and soul and the drive and the love to do that kind of thing. And the just again, like you were saying, just the respect for people going and doing that and creating that and making that journey. Man, they're awesome. And for me, I when I wrote this, I didn't really try to put a lot of comedy in it. uh, I just would write some of the main character, Max. Again, is heavily based on my personality, and some of my history, right? And so, a lot of the things he says, a lot of the way he reacts, is just part of me. And I like to make people laugh. I like to make people smile. So I'm very sarcastic, very heavy on the movie quotes, as you know.
Yeah,
Um,
there were a couple of them, especially, not to give too much away, but like when he meets that girl and there's that Back to the Future reference, I was just like, oh God, if I met a girl for a meet cute and the first thing was a Back to the Future reference, I'd be like, do you believe in marriage? Let's just go. Let's just do it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
I
that's
feel
all.
you.
It doesn't take a lot.
I think my marriage might be in trouble if that were the case. I'd be like, oh, wait a minute,
Yeah.
sorry, what?
Don't worry, Rissa's not listening.
I think she knows. I think but but it's great. This film, it really started out as just a student project. It was supposed to be
Yeah.
a 10-page student project, and it took on a life of its own as I was writing. It was like Spielberg kind of came in and took over my hands and was like, no, no, we're going to do this.
That's
It's like,
probably how you
oh,
know you have
okay.
something, is at least in my opinion, like the fact that it wasn't like, oh, I'm required to do X words, X pages for project. Like we blew
Right,
that out of the water. And now I'm just in love with what's coming from my brain to my hand and being produced on this laptop or however you write.
right.
And, you know, I, that's probably why it felt good to read it. Cause I'm sure if I was just reading your student project that you had less passion in, I would just be like, okay, whatever. Like I've
You know,
seen this script. This is, if you put one of 37 titles of 37 different shows, it's one of those episodes.
Right.
Whereas it seemed, even though it had elements I recognized and loved, it seemed unique, and I could feel you in it, which was cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
that, I've gotten to know you and Rissa over the last, 6-ish years. And I
Yeah.
was definitely like, oh yeah, that's like, this is Nick. Like, this is when he's a big time director, this is going to be his passion project. Like, who
It's,
do
you
we
know,
get to play Nick? Yeah.
it's well, we found him. Um, but it was also this thing where so I'll tell you just kind of real quick. It was supposed to be a 10-page project. It ended up being like 45 pages, 50 pages, something like that. That I had submitted, and then my mentor at the time, um, you know, I don't know, I don't even know if he really read it, because it didn't really seem like he thought it was something really good. But everybody whom I gave that script to give a read, to give me feedback on, to say, hey, this is dragging on. This doesn't make sense. This you need to cut. Da, 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 right? Because I'm looking for that feedback to make it better. Everybody who read it said, this resonates with me. This is great. This is the best thing I've read in a long time. This is my story. How did this is, I see myself in these characters. The dialogue does not feel like it wouldn't actually have, it feels like a real conversation that people will
Yeah,
have between each other.
absolutely.
And I
That's
was
the
like, okay,
difference between passion that came from you and you just getting a paycheck to write something, which
right,
happens. And those people deserve those
all the
paychecks
time.
and they do good jobs. Like, I don't want any smoke and I'm not throwing shade, but you can tell the difference between Tarantino, who writes all his movies, and they
Hmm.
take 5 years to write because he's slaving away with Vietnamese hookers and a pile of blow, or whatever the hell he does, because
I
that dude
mean, if
is
that's your
crazy.
process.
I mean, we all know that dude's insane, but like, and I'm not judging, I bet he pays those hookers very well.
Oh, I
He's
mean,
got
hey,
the funds. But
everybody needs to have a hobby and a job. So,
yeah,
that's
but let's be really clear. Like, the writer for, and again, I want no smoke. The writer for Law and Order SVU is not pumping out his passionate, best, and favorite work. He
hmm
is a writer on a TV show for a job, and him and 7 people are in a room like 30 Rock with
right.
whiteboards trying to pump it out because it's good money and good for them. I really don't throw any shade, but there's a
Right.
difference in, do I want to watch Law and Order SVU or do I want to watch your movie? I want to watch
hmm
your movie for a lot of reasons, but mostly it seems authentic and real and, you know, doubly so. A friend of mine made a movie. I mean, I can say that one friend of mine has made a movie. That's awesome. Not
Well,
a lot of
thank you.
that goes on,
Thank you
So
very much, man.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
let
when
and we're here to
everybody,
promote it.
I hope so anyway,
Yeah,
but
man.
we'll see. But everybody who gave me that feedback, I was like, okay. And so I told my mentor all of this, right? And I was like, everybody who's reading it, and they gave him the same feedback, right? And he was like, well, we got to cut it down. I was like, okay,
Just because he
then let's cut
wanted
it
you
down.
to know what it's like to have to fit into that 10-page parameter. Well, let me ask, did you get a legit reason why it had to be cut down, or did you just say yes because he's the teacher?
No, it was this. It was, first off, he didn't tell me what the budget was. So the big thing was everybody's going to write a script, and then we're going to collaboratively as a class to decide which script we want to make. Right?
Okay.
I was the only student. I mean, I'm over 40 now, and I was the oldest. I'm the oldest student in the class. Most of them are in their 20s. I've been screenwriting since I was 13. I also took a professional screenwriting class with Ron Osborne, who wrote Meet Joe Black.
Oh, okay.
So, I've been writing for a while. So of course my script came in and everybody else was still writing, and mine was 40 some odd pages and they barely had anything. So and every, then the teacher, the mentor, and this was a class of like 10 of us approximately. And, then he
Did you
changed it
all
up and
each
he's
have a
like,
mentor, or were there 10 mentors?
no, no, there were 10 of us to one mentor.
Okay, so your teacher mentor is the 1 to the 10,
Right.
and you're the oldest and most experienced. So you pump something out, everyone's still working. So it becomes
Hmm.
obvious which script we're going to do.
Well, and then he changes it up and he says, okay, well, everybody's going to write their own script and make their own film.
Interesting.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a change. That's a big change.
Right. And
Yeah.
I'm like, what's the budget? He won't tell us. He won't tell us the budget. I said, okay. So wrote the script that we got to cut it down. Got to cut it down to, a lot less because, we don't have that much to make a big film, right? Okay, whatever. It's not a huge film, but okay. And I wrote this intentionally so that it would be easy to film. There would be few locations, that
Yeah.
it would be mostly human interaction. It didn't require big car chases and explosions and,
Yeah, you have
gore
no
and
cars,
horror and
no
like,
explosions, no CGI. If memory serves, you've got like 3, possibly 4 locations. And it's like you could film all this in the same like LA office park of like you need an
I mean,
office, you need a
if we had
hallway,
to, yeah,
you need a
like I mean,
sidewalk.
I made this as simple to film as possible while telling a compelling story, right? Um, and so it says, okay, we got to cut it down. I said, all right, we'll cut it down. So I give it to Rissa, who obviously, she's an avid reader. She's a writer. She's an editor. So she looked at my script. She helped me cut it down to the bare bone essentials, which ended up being not really short, but it came down to about 32 pages. And, that was what we needed to tell the story, without losing anything, but without anything extra.
Right.
So then we had everybody reread it, and the mentor was still like, what else can we cut out? And everybody who read it was like, nothing. This is great. I love this. I am hooked. I am drawn in. I love the story. Everything is there and if you take anything out, you're gonna be missing something from the story. It won't get told correctly. Everybody said this. And this
Did he just
mentor,
cave?
no, no, what happened was this mentor, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to talk too badly about somebody, but let's just say that he had a freak out moment one day. He told me that the movie didn't matter. The budget is zero. This isn't what we should be focusing on. Have a nice day type of thing. We should be focusing on something different. And so,
Okay.
yeah, it was, I mean, one of these days you and I will have a cup of coffee and just talk about that
Yeah.
shit show. But to say that he pulled the rug out from under me when I was like, okay, we're making this. I'm excited. What? So I took my toys and I left. I took my script and I came back here to this Airbnb. Now, this Airbnb, um, fortuitously, just again, the universe lines things up, right? Kind of like what I say in the script. The universe will put things into place and into play that need to be there for you when they need to be there, right? And that'll you ride the path and it'll guide you. The owner of the house that I'm staying in at this Airbnb, they live here as well while I'm staying here, and this guy, his name is Brian Darling. He's a wonderful man. Um, and he used to do all the books for all the celebrities here in Los Angeles and Beverly Hills and everywhere else. He knows a lot of great contacts. And he saw how deflated I was when I came home that night after this freak out that this guy had. At that point, I left the school, I left the mentorship. I was like, F this. This isn't for me. You're not teaching me anything. You're just throwing me under the bus here. Have a nice day.
Lo and behold,
So
did
I,
you realize that this is the path that all great filmmakers they must leave school before complete? No great music. All the great musicians went to Berkeley School of Music and dropped out, and then just
right.
became the great musicians. So you're
And so
already
like I was just done. I was like, I was tired of being told, well, we can do this. No, we can't. Oh, we can do this. No, we can't. F this game. I'm gone. So I get back here and I'm just having a bad night. I'm like, you know what? Hi Brian, how you doing? Yeah, this is what happened today. So I'm gonna retire to my room. I'm just gonna go to bed early tonight. I'm just relax and clear my head and try and figure out what I'm doing next. And he said, let me put you in touch with a producer that I know named Dave Wilson. And I was like, Dave Wilson, okay, I've never heard of this guy, but okay, that's nice. Uh, he's like, I'll get you a phone call with him. I'll get you on the phone with him. So I talked to Dave briefly on the phone, the next day, and Dave says, okay, well, how long is your script? And I was like, it's about 32 pages. I planned on filming it in the span of about 4 days. And he's like, wow, that's a lot of material to go through. Yeah, nobody really films that fast. Yeah, let me send me the script. Send me the script. Let me look at it. Okay, sure, no problem. Next day, um, he calls me and he's like, let's go look at a location.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, you don't do that if you don't like the script
Right.
or if you don't think it can make money. You got to do one or
Right.
the other has to be true, or you wouldn't waste the time.
Right.
Yeah.
And he doesn't, I mean, you have to be selective of the projects you're working on.
Right.
And Dave Wilson he was a producer for The Voice and he works for NBC Universal. And, he's done a few short films and things like he does a lot of, you know, um, editing for commercials and for trailers and for a whole bunch of stuff. Right. And, so calls me up and says, let's go look at a location. We looked at the location. It's called Brilliant Screen Studios, here in LA. And we get there and Dave knows the script from front to back. He knows every scene, how many pages it takes, and he gets into the place and he's talking to the owner of this studio. And he's like, well, we want to film pages 13 to 17 in this room. And, I'm like, holy crap, he really knows this. He knows it better than I do, what freaking pages things are on. And so I was like, he actually thinks there's something here.
Well, he broke it
So,
down in a producer mindset.
mm-hmm,
You are the creator, and even I am looking at it like I want to watch the movie. But
right,
he immediately goes, I mean, if he's a producer, this is literally what he does. So he
right,
starts thinking, okay, that's a location, that's a location, that's a location. Let's scout them. How close can they be to each other? Do we need
mm-hmm,
catering if this is going to take more than 4 days or
mm-hmm.
whatever the numbers are? Because there's also unions and stuff. And I'm sure, you're probably well aware of what's going on right now with the
Oh
writer's
yeah,
strike. And,
yeah.
and,
And so
and
that's
I'm
what's
sure
great
that's
about
affected.
independent film. With independent film, because it's non-union,
Okay.
um, there's no, yeah, and any again, anything under $5 million, they're like, yeah, you're a small. Not we don't really go do your thing. So even with union SAG members, they're allowed to do short independent films that are not big production type of things, right?
And
Our
they're not
budget,
viewed as crossing the picket line.
correct,
That's just
correct,
like you're allowed to do the small stuff to keep eating,
right,
but you can still
exactly,
maintain like on the line and a unified front. Because let's all be honest,
right.
they should win this.
Oh,
Like
100%.
give the star 8 million instead of 10 and just figure out how to allocate that 2 million correctly. I mean,
Right. I mean,
it's just, at some
again,
point the wealth
it's,
is nuts.
just on that topic real quick, just because the film industry is getting the spotlight on that because it's the film industry, it's just indicative and showing, the bigger problem that we have in America with corporate, making hand over fist the amount of money that they're making in these golden parachute deals that CEOs are getting, no matter how much they take away from the people who are actually making the money for them, you know? And it's like if you can't maintain healthcare at $26,000 a year as an actor, there's something freaking wrong here,
There's something very wrong. Yeah.
you
And
know?
that, I mean, you're right. You touched on it. That's a much wider problem than the film industry, but we're just seeing it on display. I think it was
Right.
James Gunn who
Hmm.
his brother has directed like all of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
Sean Gunn.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, what James is Rocket,
James is the brother. Yeah, is the brother,
and
and then
he's
Sean
also
is
the
the
like the
director.
ship guy. Oh, okay, I'm mixing them up.
Hmm.
My bad. Yeah, but the one who plays Rocket, like
Right.
he's like squatting there in a
Yep.
mocap suit. He gave an interview real quick, like on the lines, and he's like, you don't understand. You see me and you think I make good money, and I do, but what you don't see is the carpenter who built the set, who only gets like 27.50 an hour, and when the set is done he no longer gets paid, and like blah 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 and all this. And I was like, oh yeah, I
Right.
mean, I already kind of knew that those people existed, but there's definitely a lot of people who don't think about it, who
Right.
don't realize that, like, you know it's, you see, we're talking Guardians, so like you see Gamora in that
Hmm.
perfect green face paint that's supposed to be her skin. Every single freaking take, six people have to touch that up. And every
Yeah.
morning and every day when it's over, 10 people have to take it off her, and 10 people have to put it on the next morning. And like those are the 25 people that we're fighting for, that they are
Hmm.
fighting for. You and I are not fighting
And
for anything.
every single person in film, doesn't matter your position, you're a contractor. You're not
Right.
an employee.
Right. Which
You
is
are
a
a
huge thing
contractor.
when it comes to benefits like healthcare.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because if
Yep.
you're 1099, your company gives zero shits about your healthcare. You're a contract. But if you're an
Right.
employee, you will most likely get paid slightly less on salary, but you make up for that in great healthcare. And
Right.
that's a huge problem in this country, especially
Oh yeah.
because we don't have the universal healthcare of a lot of other countries. But,
Right.
you know,
Agreed. 110%.
let's keep it more positive on
But
your
yes.
particular movie. Yeah. So
But yeah,
he's
it's
he's
crazy.
producing, he's looking at locations,
Yeah.
and
And he's really he's talks to me and Rissa, and he says, what's our budget? And we said to him, we said, here's what we thought it should be. And we were like, let's call it 30,000, right? And then we said to him, but you're a producer, so you know what it will take to make this the right way. So you tell us what you think that number should be.
where does the
And he,
30K come from? You're just using the best knowledge you've got from your
yeah,
film class you took?
yeah.
And
Um,
where would the 30K have come from? Like, were you and Rissa about to put that up?
so yeah, that's what so when when the rug was pulled out from under me and stuff like that, obviously, I called and I told Rissa and stuff like that. And then we were I was introduced to Dave, and Rissa said to me, she said, money aside, you know, without the, instruction of a mentor and all that stuff, could you go and make this? And I looked at her, I said, absolutely. And she said, okay, then let's finance it ourselves. This is your first film. This is, your calling card, so to speak. This is, your
Just straight
everybody
Kevin
has to make
Smith.
their first film.
Just straight
And
Kevin Smith. Like, let's just film it ourselves. Let's get down and dirty. Is it black and
yeah,
white?
that was God. No, it's 6K. But
Oh,
yeah, oh God, Dave has a lot of contacts, obviously, as a producer, and
yeah.
he came back, he said, well, to make this correctly, to make it a real contender in the film festivals, stuff like that, we're looking, probably about 60K.
Okay, so
So Rissa,
literally double.
yeah,
Okay,
yep,
so I got
for a
rapid fire questions for
30-ish
you.
minute film.
I
Yeah,
got rapid fire questions for you.
go
Okay,
for it.
so number one, um, who came up with the 60K in real life? Was it still
We
you and
did.
Rissa? Okay.
Yep,
Um, when you think of that, were you like, okay, the 60K is gone, or are you actually thinking like, this is going to be successful, we will potentially make that back, we could potentially make more? Or are you just like, we spent 60K, like you bought a vacation, like it's gambling, like it's gone?
yep. 60K
Okay.
went in. We said, hey, look, whether we succeed or fail, you made your first movie, got some experience, you learned something, and then what you decide to do from there, we do it together type of thing, right? I mean, all our journey, our whole, time we've been together has always been a partnership on the same page. And
Yeah.
so she knew that this has been my dream since I was a kid to be a writer and director of films. And she said, let's let's do it. We can afford to do it right now. We are fortunate enough to be able to afford to do it right now. So even if we're flushing 60K, right now, fine, because this means something. This whole experience means something. And, as and oh and I almost forgot. Rissa, not only did she edit the script, but even before my mentor was pulling the rug out for me, I'd gone and I was doing all the work myself, all the casting, all the location scouting, everything. But Rissa stepped in as my casting director, and she
Okay.
found the perfect cast. So we had the cast in place already. We even had a table read with the cast on our dime because we, at the time, with the mentor, thought that this was going forward.
What
And so the cast
was
was in place, and Rissa was at that point my editor, my casting director, and as a financier, makes the two of us as well executive producers,
I was
which
going to
gives us
say
the
you're also
creative
producers.
control.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So you're director and exec producer. She's exec producer, casting director. So you have a lot of the big titles, or and then you brought in the third producer because
Yep.
or
Dave
I
is the big producer.
yeah.
He's well, the
Did he put
producer.
up any money?
No, we just
Okay.
paid him.
What
Um,
was
you know,
the actual we're done overall budget?
we put in 61,000 just to be safe, but because we're still in post production, when we don't know what that final number looks. We're not going over, but we don't know if we're going to be getting any back. We might be. But
Okay.
we put in 61 just to be safe, right? Just to have that buffer to say, okay, well, we've got an extra little bit in here just to be safe.
Gotcha.
Um,
As far
but
as
Dave,
casting, was Rissa like, is there an accessive database of B-list people who do this, or do you start going at local theater troops or
no, so there's actually I started out on a website called Breakdown Services or Breakdown Express Services. And you go on there and you create your project. You say, who's directing it, who's producing it, and you put a list of your characters, a description of all your characters, and then the project is created through Breakdown Services, right? They vet you, they make you do an online course to learn how to use their system, and
okay.
then it just goes out there and it goes to all the agents and it goes to everybody who's out there, and anybody who wants to audition has the chance to first, you know, put in their resume, and sometimes they have a portfolio in film is called a reel, like an old fashioned reel of film.
Yeah.
And so everybody, if you have a reel, that's part of your profile, your photos, all that stuff. And then you go through all those people and you look at their work, and then you pare it down to who you want to invite to give you a video audition. And so they'll do a self-tape audition, and then through all of those, with all of those, and then for each character, and then you pare all of those down, and then you invite those that you like the most, and then sometimes you do a chemistry read between two actors to see how they do. Um, and so that whole process, it took weeks. And Rissa even took time off of work to do this. Just I'm taking the day off. I've got a lot to do for this film, right? She wasn't making any money. She wasn't, she was losing money by taking a day off, but she knew how important this was. And again, this was before the mentor said, "Nope, we have no budget. Your budget is zero. Have a nice day. Goodbye." Um, and we were just like, so we were both invested in it already, just time
Literally.
wise and personally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And this is even before the money.
right,
Yeah. So
right.
this just kind of circles back to me being like, this is why the movie's probably good, even though I haven't seen it and I can't wait to. But you've got, not forget about one, now two people sacrificing everything for the passion that they truly believe in. I mean,
Mm.
if that's not the definition of the thing I want to see and be a part of, I don't know what is.
And it's funny, Rissa, she doesn't like behind the scenes movies because it takes her out of the story, right? But on the other end of that, if she's making part of making the movie, it's a different thing, right? Because she's not being taken out of a story that she, is watching on the screen. She doesn't know that somebody's, crouching around, pretending to be Rocket,
Right.
because to her, that's Rocket. I don't know who the
Yeah.
hell James Gunn is. That's Rocket, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that thing, so I never expected her to want to be part of making a movie, but she's been working in the medical field in graduate medical education for since 2015 ish, and it's just not fulfilling to her. It's not what she's always wanted to do. That's not what her degree is in. That's not what her what she. It was a temp job that turned into a necessity when I
Right.
got sick. So when
And
she
it was
started
better than
doing,
I think when I met her, she was working at a restaurant. So it was better than that.
yeah,
Yeah. She was working,
yeah,
I think, at that like
the the
Mediterranean place in Chapel Hill or something like that.
no, it was a Asian place. It was Japanese
Japanese.
fine dining place. Yeah, and but when she started doing the casting on this and doing the editing on the script, she lit up like a Christmas tree, and she was just so happy. Like for the first time in a long time, I just saw her so happy to be doing the work that she was doing, and it was like, and then when we eventually got on set and doing things, she was just alive and she was just so happy to be doing it. And I was like, wow, this is not only what I should be doing, but it's what she should be doing too. And she is super excited for that possibility.
That's awesome. Meeting and knowing you guys, I would have never been like, yeah, yeah, they're gonna be the next film people. Like I would have never, you know, but like I can't wait to be proven wrong. So when can me and the rest of the public see the movie? Also, what's it called?
So it's called Through the Lens. And the tagline on there is, one shot can change everything.
Right.
And it's, all these double meanings, right, that go into those things.
Definitely got a few in there, my man.
But yeah, I mean, so we've got right now, today is what, September 17th. So
Yes.
we've got probably another, I want to say 3 or 4 weeks of post production to do. We've still got to do color grading and correction, and we've got to do the audio mix,
Right.
and do that. And we're doing a lot of our promotional stuff on Instagram. Rissa and I, we don't have an LLC yet, but we're doing business as a production company called Phoenix Rising, Phoenix
Phoenix
Rising
rising,
Studios.
rising from
Mhm.
the ashes. Let's go.
Yeah, man. Again, more meanings in there about our lives, but yeah,
Absolutely.
Phoenix Rising Studios, it's on Instagram. It's Phoenix Rising Studio.
Okay.
And you'll find a whole bunch of our behind the scenes photos, and we're going to be adding the video interviews and stuff like that. We're creating a behind the scenes 45-minute feature that we're going to be putting on YouTube when that's ready. So all that
What's the
promotional
YouTube
stuff
page
is,
called?
so I don't have that up and running yet.
Okay. No worries.
When I
What about
do, I'll
Facebook? Just
definitely
for people listening,
let you
like
know.
anywhere they can
So
find.
we're actually not on Facebook, because we have found that Instagram for film and TV is where that audience is 99%. But if you go to either my page on Facebook or Rissa's, or if you go to IMDb, and you look up me, or you look up Rissa, you'll find our film on
You're
IMDb
on
with,
IMDb, bro?
yeah, man,
Dude, that's you
absolutely.
made it. You made it.
That's
You made it. If you're listed at IMDb, that's it. As Johnny Drama says in that show Entourage, I'll fly myself out, I'll put myself out, and you can cut me as long as I'm listed on the cast sheet and I'm on IMDb. And I'm
that's
like,
it.
what? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, look us up on IMDb, look us up on Instagram, and when the behind the scenes video is ready on YouTube, we'll be posting that on Instagram and letting people know. And so after we do post production, like I said, probably 3 4 weeks left of that. Then we're gonna do a screening at LA Film School, which is mostly for cast, crew, students. We're going to do
Right.
a live stream Q&A after the film is done.
That's cool.
And and then we're going to be going to the film festivals.
Nice.
So
Okay.
those, I mean, film festivals can take a while, because if your deadline for a film festival is October 31st, then you'll be seen in the film festival in like March or April next year, right?
Okay.
Because they're all just that far out because they give people enough time to submit and then they got to go through the submissions and da 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 da. But
So if you're
uh,
not, if you're the general public like me, what's a realistic time frame and a realistic platform that we would be able to see? Because I'm not going to a film festival. I'm not in the LA film circuit. I'm not flying to Cannes, and I'm
right,
not flying
right.
to Atlanta. Well, maybe we could talk about that later.
Well,
But
here's
like
here's
for
kind
a
of what we're
listener,
thinking.
yeah,
Yeah, what we're thinking is this. Once the film festivals are done, which will probably be in about a year, once those are done, if we have not found anyone who either wants to invest in the film or create a bigger film out of it or buy the rights to it or get a distribution deal or anything like that, then we're just going to distribute it for free on like YouTube or something like that. Because again, for
so the
us, it was
film
never about the money,
so
you know?
if I could ask then, the film
Yeah,
festival circuit is kind of like it's kind of like going to a trade show looking for an investor,
yeah,
more so than like this is just where independent films go to show. You're like, I'm looking
right,
for some low guy at Miramax to be like, you know what? We'll give you 30 million for advertising and see if we can actually make some real money. Or let's buy the rights for $500,000 and have you be an
hmm,
exec producer to make this into a feature length,
right,
90-minute film,
right,
because you're considered a short. You're not considered. It's considered a feature, but a short feature. What's the technical
right.
terminology there?
Right. And, I mean, it would be something like that because, of course, big studios, they don't want to take big risks on people that they don't know because that's a
Right.
lot of freaking money to put out there for somebody who is not established. But like you said, you could end up an exec producer on a longer version of it or something like that.
Or like we
But
take that short film and it becomes the inspiration for the next TV show or something like that, or just really
right,
anything bigger than where you're at. And
right,
that's not smoke on where you're at. That's just your goal is to go from we spent 61.5 to make something we really care about. And in an ideal world, it would resonate with enough people at enough film festivals that it would get enough attention where you have
right.
big studios going, let's purchase the rights to make a show, make a movie, make something.
Even
Yeah.
if it's just a distribution deal of, hey, we're going to show
Yeah.
this on Hulu, or hey, we're going to show
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
Apple TV, or whatever it is, right?
Right.
Even if it's just something like that, we are happy with that. And the big thing too is that the movie business really is not what you know, but who you know. And the fact that one of the biggest compliments that me and Rissa got on this production, and this was from everybody, and these are crew and cast and producer, everybody who's worked in the film industry for a while, is that this was the we were on time, or ahead of time. We were on budget, we were within budget. There was no drama, there was no arguments. Everything went smoothly. Everything was fun. Everything was energetic. Everything went, just the way it should. And it's unusual, super, super unusual for a production to go as smoothly as it has. And in post, it showed itself in that way in post too, that it was so easy to put together.
So you did the
The
opposite of a construction site.
Right, right.
Ah!
We didn't expect that. No, none of that. Everything was just like, boom, good. We're awesome. We're happy. It's great. Let's keep going. And it was just a collaborative thing between everybody that was amazingly just unusual. So
If I
that
was a
being the
studio,
case,
I would want to hire your whole team. I would be like,
well,
wait a minute. You guys can do this under budget or on budget. with no drama and no star put his hand through a mirror. We want your whole crew. Bring
Right,
your whole crew.
right.
We want you to direct Sesame Street 5 or whatever.
Like, well, that's the other thing too, is that that's why you'll see so many of the films out there. They use the same director with the same crew with the same cast because they
Yeah.
all work together so well. And one of the big things that did come out of this, and one of the many reasons that we're moving to LA is not just because, I'm hoping that I'll get another opportunity or something, but it's because the producer that we worked with, Dave, because the three of us, me, him, and Rissa, were on the same page about everything the whole time and still continue to be every day when we look at things in post. We're going to continue working together to make more films, not necessarily films that we're financing or writing or anything, but if we can make things the way that we have with this, we're going to continue making more because he's producing other things and he's going to bring us in on as part of the team.
Yeah,
And Dave
why
Wilson's
wouldn't you want to work with your friends that you can trust who, oh, by the way, can actually do the job correctly? I mean,
right,
that's a triple threat.
right. And
Yeah,
Dave's production company that we would be kind of kind of partnering with is called Bad Burrito Productions.
I like it
And
already.
I mean, well, you'll love the meaning behind it, but he's a graduate from Full Sail University, which is part of LA Film School.
I know it very
Um,
well. My dad has taught there and done a lot of rooms at Full Sail. You
he may know
probably
Dave Wilson then.
Probably.
Um,
I mean, ask around for a room that was redesigned by WSDG. You're probably doing post production in it and you didn't even realize it
Possibly.
because I've been
The
there
reason
to
it's
look at
called
rooms he's done.
the reason it's called Bad Burrito Productions is from a quote from one of his teachers who said, "Nothing stops up a production like a bad burrito." So
Yep.
that was so, but yeah, so we're going to continue working together and making more films after this. But I'm really glad that you love the script, and I'm really hope that people will find that something that speaks to them in the film.
I think that part is a no brainer. I think the only foreseeable problem that I see is just how you're going to get it out to the people. If I like based on that script and knowing you, I know it will be a good movie. I don't know that it will like make the money that is required. When you hear to bring back the example of Black Adam costing, I
Hmm.
think 200, spending 250 on marketing. So now it's a 450 minimum to be successful and it makes 400 million and is considered a flop. It's like, okay, that's
Right,
bonkers. Whereas, like,
right.
we need to give your movie 100K for marketing, and if it
And
makes
we're not
162K, it's successful.
right, and we're not spending any money on marketing. Riss is running
Right.
the Instagram stuff. I'm doing the editing on the behind the scenes stuff. We're posting it all on social media. No money spent on that.
And you got a buddy who's going to put you on his podcast for free. What's
Exactly.
up?
Exactly. And it was not only an awesome opportunity to catch up with you, man, because I've missed you, but I really appreciate you taking the time to sit and chat with me about it too.
Dude, absolutely. I mean, it's got nothing to do with home ownership and construction, but it is still, a passion thing. We share that. And, I don't know how if you had to build a set, but there's construction there. We can tie this in any way we like. But at the end of the day, our love of movies and film is equal. And
Yeah.
you're now getting into the industry. I just appreciate and love the intricacies of the industry and have kind of always wanted to be in it and am not.
Well,
But
here's the thing. I mean, I think I may have mentioned it. I don't remember, but if I mean, because one of the film festivals I want to do real bad. First off, we're only doing Academy Award qualifying festivals, so
okay.
there's the potential to be nominated for an Academy Award for a short film. So we're doing all of those for sure. But one of those is in Atlanta, and if I can get you to come to one of the screenings, I'd love to have you
The
just as
Atlanta
a
one
just
is
as a
super.
friend, if nothing else.
The Atlanta one is super possible just because that 6 hour drive is super doable. And I can just be like, oh, it's an excuse to go visit and stay with my sister who lives in Buckhead for a couple of nights.
There you
So
go.
we emailed back and forth about that, and we will definitely catch up at another date about that for sure. But
Sounds good, man.
I very much want to discuss that. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure, man.
I love it.
This was super awesome, man. I usually don't like doing Zoom podcasts. This one is by far the most fun.
Thanks,
And
buddy.
I really I wish you nothing but success with the movie, man, and with the new
Thanks.
career path. I mean, nothing would make me happier than to pay $13 at South Point Movie Theater to go see something directed by Nick and produced by Rissa, and it be freaking awesome, and produced or put out by one of those big studios. I mean, that's the goal, I think, here, and I would
Just
love
keep visualizing it, man.
keep visualizing it. And I don't like LA, but you're in the right part of the world for this, bro. So enjoy the
Well, we'll
tacos
see how long
and
LA lasts, but
get
uh,
successful enough that you can direct from anywhere. That's my
right,
suggestion. Yeah.
right, exactly. Maybe you'll see us back in the area because there are so many days we just look at each other, we're like, we miss Windburn, but that was our house,
Yeah,
first house and our
it's a
house.
nice little slice, this Windburn,
Yeah,
I
it was
like it.
cozy.
It's cozy for sure. Yeah. Um, well, yeah. So just to wrap real quick, the Instagram again and the name
It's
of the
gonna be
movie,
yep. So the name of the film is Through the Lens,
Through the Lens.
and Instagram is phoenixrising.studio.
Okay. And as always, the Orange Hammer podcast. We are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. If you want to talk about the show, come on the show, or need CRS contracting in the Triangle, Corb, CORB, at WSDG.com and 845-489-6057. Nick, my man, this was fun. Let's do it again.
Sounds like a plan, man. Thank you so much, Corbett. Good seeing you, dude.
Great to see you. All right, bye, everybody.